So here I am one day minding my own business when all of a sudden Kel puts out this video about this game called Altered. This video is his fault, so we brought him along for the ride. Let's dive in.
My fault.
Oh man. So thank you for joining me today, Kel. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy man. But basically I was watching a video that Kel did with Dan, and they opened some Altered, a game I wasn't really interested in. And I had all these objections to the game, and they literally countered every single one of my objections at the end of their video. So I bought a box, and I was like, "You made me buy this, through your video. So please do this video with me and explain it to me."
It's a really fun game. What's great about Altered, and what's great about a lot of trading card games, if you enter it with the right mindset, is you can kind of treat it like a board game. But Altered more so than others because it was literally made by board game designers. If people are familiar with games like Mysterium or Dixit, literally the guy who made Dixit made Altered. So it's made it from a French studio called Equinox, and definitely has this board game vibes. And one of those games I think it can appeal to a much broader audience, I would say, than a trading card game audience because of that, and also the theming of the game. You don't fight your opponents. It's more of a positive kind of thing. It's like a race. You're racing to the end, which I think can appeal to a lot more people. And, it's one of the few TCGs that I got my partner to play with me, and she actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So, I think it's got a lot going for it.
Sweet, yeah. So the reason that we are here today is because of box opening experience. I have not yet played the game. I've been very busy with a new job, but watching Kel and Dan open the boxes and the basically you're getting one of cards when you open this product. So I was like, that seems really interesting. And if nothing else, if I just enjoy the box opening experience of this, it was worth it, right? If we go through this video and I'm still interested, then my LGS has some starter decks, and I'm gonna talk some people at the store into playing. But yeah, without further ado, let's switch cameras and let's open this box, and Kel's kind of gonna explain things to us as we go, so we don't sound like a bumbling idiot opening this box. And yeah, it should be fun. So we'll switch cameras and we'll be right back. So I bought this box for my LGS after watching Kel and Dan's videos, and they threw in this little box here. This is a token box, so I'm assuming there's a lot of tokens we bring in from outside of the game, and I guess they just offer you this little box so you can put your tokens in. So that's pretty cool. It looks like it seals pretty well, but yeah, there we go. All right, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, Altered does use a decent amount of little tokens and stuff. If you buy a starter deck, you'll see it. It has the standard kind of board game thing. Okay. You have the punch outs, right? Where you have
nice.
Little punch outs for if it's anchored, if it's asleep, it's whatever.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Status effects.
And Game Gen, it's not a ton. There's only a couple. Mm-hmm. And Game Genic also offers acrylic tokens, so you can buy fancy ones. If you want.
Yeah, very cool.
But the starter deck comes with everything.
Very cool. So here we go. This is a box of Altered, and like I said, I really wanted to be more prepared for this video. I wanted to do a bunch of research and have a bunch of knowledge. I have to cover the goblin set, unfortunately, and really have an idea of what I'm doing. But I got a new job, and so I didn't have time for any of that. So that's why we're bringing Kel along, so he can, we're going to kind of learn about the game while opening, and then when we get some big hits, we'll, know that they're big hits, right? So this should be fun. So how's the pack opening experience? I just did some, Alestrals, and the packs were pretty miserable to open. How have you found these opening?
Oh, they're great. I mean, for the most part, Altered is printed by Cardamundi, which is the same manufacturer that does Magic the Gathering and Flesh and Blood and a lot of other TCGs. So you're gonna have that kind of card quality and pack quality just in general.
Very cool. So we're seeing this is a hero right off the jump. Very interesting.
Yep, you should get one hero per pack.
This may be the hero I play. This thing is beautiful. We got some pink, some green. It's not perfect Goblin Reserve colors, but it basically is, right? All right.
If you like rolling dice, you'll like her.
I do love rolling dice. Rolling dice is a big thing I am interested in. All right, so we've got a Bravos Vanguard. So one of the biggest problems that I had with this game was the fact that there was this QR code. And one of the big things that you and Dan brought up was when you're holding your deck of cards, you really don't see it that much, right? Because you're kind of covering it. And so that was a big turnoff for me that they kind of immediately got rid of. But Very interesting. So
Yeah, I think if you like actually like, because a lot of people hyper focus on it, they're like, oh, the giant QR code, and if you actually take the percentage that the QR code takes up, I think Dan did the math. It's like a tiny amount.
Yeah.
Like it's like less than what, a fourth of the text box or something like that, or not a fourth. I mean an eighth of the text box, where the art is like very big, takes up most of the space.
So one thing I will tell you that I appreciate right now, there's some card games that aren't very obvious what your rarity is. I can very clearly see that this is a common. You've got your nice little C here at the bottom that denotes that, and the next card we have a rare. So that is very much appreciated. And I will say that I do 100% feel like this QR code, when I was outside of the game, when I was not opening these products, this QR code felt huge. When I'm holding these cards in my hand, it is honestly so much smaller in person. So much smaller in person. I really don't even notice it. All right, so we've got an F. What is an F?
F is faction shifted. Technically, under the rules of Altered, it counts as a rare for deck building.
Okay.
Because when you build your deck, you can only have 15 rares. It's kind of like a balancing mechanic, right? You can't just chalk your deck full of rares. And faction shifted counts as a rare. And basically, what it is, it's a card from a different faction in another faction.
Yeah, that is very cool. Oh, this looks fancy. I don't know if this is a.
Ooh,
yeah, it is. It is a thing, right? Yeah. So this is called what again?
So this one is a unique, and so uniques are literally that. They are uniques. They are procedurally generated, kind of like a roguelite or something like that, under certain parameters, right? And so it's to make it so the cards aren't completely busted, but this is a one of one. All uniques are one of ones, so this is the only version of this card that exists in the entire world. As it is.
That is so cool.
Pretty cool.
So this is the main reason I wanted to open this, because even if I don't find the game interesting at the end of the day, the pack opening experience is so cool, because literally every time you pull a unique, you are pulling a one-of-a-kind card, which is so cool. So we'll have to go over how the game works and stuff for me to better understand this. But we'll first look. So we've got a Dorothy Gale, a 3/4/3. And the way I understand it from just watching your videos, because I haven't had time to do this unfortunately, is basically you have 3 different areas that are under contention the entire game, and you're trying to advance in each one of these categories. Is that correct?
Sort of. So it's not, you don't have them at all times. So the way it works is that you have kind of like this linear track that's kind of like randomly assembled from 3 different cards. I call them tumult cards, and they're basically like regions, right? So like one of them is like a mountainous region, or a more swampy region, or grasslands, or whatever. And each region will have different attributes, right? So say it's the swampy region, and it has the forest attribute on that card and the water attribute, but maybe not the mountain attribute. What you need to do is, if you are on that specific track, then you will need to succeed on one of the attributes, right? So as long as you win on either the grass or the water, then you succeed. You don't have to win on both, you just have to win on one of them.
Cool.
And you'll be contesting against your opponent, who will also be trying to win on whatever they are currently on for their specific expedition. You technically have 2 expeditions separated. You have your hero and then your companion, and then you have those tracks, and you try to meet in the middle. Like I said, it's like a race. You just try to race to the middle.
Yeah, very cool. So we've got a line and a hand. So we'll get some explanation on that. So our arrow says, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If it's a spell, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. So that's like some filtering, right?
Ooh, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Very cool. And then our hand is, you may discard a card from your reserve. If you do, you may send target character to reserve.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what's interesting about unique cards are that they are unique versions of cards that already exist. So that's a Dorothy Gale. There is a common version of Dorothy Gale. There is also a rare version of Dorothy Gale, and I believe there's also a faction-shifted version of her. So when you're building your deck, you can only have 3 Dorothy Gales total, right? You can have maybe 2 commons and a rare. You can have a common, a rare, and a unique if you want. You can only have 3 uniques in your deck total. Keep that in mind. So when evaluating uniques, I like to think of like, okay, what does this do different than the common or the rare. And she's very, very different. The common and rare Dorothy Gale essentially gets rid of one of your opponent's units, right? That one does a lot of extra stuff. The getting the card back, the most exciting part of that is getting the card back from the reserve.
Okay.
You can think of the reserve as like your second hand.
Okay.
In Altered, usually when you play something, it'll go into your reserve unless it specifically says doesn't, and then you can play it again from the reserve, and then after you do that, it goes away. You can't do it again after that. So being able to get a card back from your reserve is very interesting. It makes it so you can play a card like in another time. Especially spells.
So basically, you're getting to play a card twice. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
Yeah, Dorothy will let you play the card essentially 3 times, right? You can play it the first time, it goes into your reserve. You can play it another, you get it back from your reserve to your hand, play it again from your hand. And also, there's other implications too. So, like you mentioned, the little arrow and the little hand. So the arrow means every time you play the card, it does that effect.
Oh, cool.
The hand means if you played the card from your hand, it does that effect.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another symbol that looks like a little card with little lines coming out of it. And that's if you played the card from your reserve, it does that effect.
Is that this one here?
Yes, it's that one.
Cool.
And I will say, like, this stuff might sound complicated now, but literally the starter decks and starter products are really, really good. They have like a little card in it that tells you what all the little symbols do. So when you're playing the game for the first time, you can have the little card next to you, so you can be like, oh, what does this do? And you look at it.
That's awesome.
Really, like I said, they're board game designers and they treat it like such, and it's really, really easy to get into.
That's very cool. So again, like I will say, first things first, the art is freaking incredible. The one big downside, and I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain there are no goblins yet. So I mean, big negative, big negative there. It's a big red flag for me. But no, in all seriousness, the art is incredible so far. And again, this is the only card in the world like this. Like, that is so cool from a box opening experience. So
yeah,
we've got a Subhash and Marmo. So we've got our first hero, and then so the stats here are 2 and are 3. What are we looking at there?
Those are the costs. So I mentioned earlier, playing cards from hand, playing cards from reserve. Those are the costs of playing it from your hand or playing it from your reserve.
Cool.
So the big number, the blue one, that's what it costs to play from your hand. And then the smaller number, the red one in this case, that's what it costs to play from your reserve. So it actually has different costs depending on when you play it. So you could have effects that, like, put a card into your reserve, and then you can maybe play it from your reserve for a reduced cost if it has a reduced cost. There's a lot of strategy when it comes into that.
Interesting. Now, I noticed that, I've only done, it's different all the way around. I was going to say that, all the cards here were like either similar, it was more to play it from reserve, whereas Dorothy Gale, it's cost more to play her initially, but then less from reserve. But that doesn't seem to be a continuous theme. It kind of just seems random.
It all depends on the card effects, right? So Dorothy has an effect where you play it anytime, the little arrow, but she also has an effect when you play it from your hand. So she probably costs more from hand because she's got the 2 effects, right? Rather than if you just played her from your reserve, you wouldn't get that from hand effect.
Makes sense.
So like that card, for example, it costs 3 to play from hand, but it has an effect from hand.
Right.
While it only costs 2 to play from reserve, but it does not have an effect.
It doesn't have an effect after the fact. Makes sense. Whereas like a card like this, it's always there, right? So whether we do it from hand or from reserve, we're still getting that effect. So it costs a little bit more. Whereas this one, like, this is only from reserve, right? So you would think it would cost more, but it actually costs the same. The arrow was what again?
The arrow is, it does it every single time.
Every single time, okay. So that's a 4/4. This one doesn't do anything. It's just a standard. This is from hand only, so it's cheaper the second time you do it. That kind of makes sense. From hand, it's cheaper the second time you do it. Very cool, very cool. That makes a lot of sense. All right.
And it's typically a lot harder to play from reserve, too.
Okay. So you have to have, like, specific cards that allow you to do it, or?
No, it's just harder to put the cards in reserve, right? You have to either played it once already or done an effect that put it into the reserve, right?
Okay.
So when you're looking at it in your hand, it might look cheaper, but you still have to find a way to put it into the reserve.
Cool. So we've got a faction shifted card here. Again, I love that for someone that has no idea about this game, has never seen this game before, it cannot be understated how much it means to have a freaking letter down here that, like, even a moron like me, now that I've seen it once, I know, look, this F, that means that this is a faction shifted card. It's not normally in this faction, so it's going to be slightly different. which is super card. And we were just talking about how it's hard to get cards in reserve. This literally says resupply. Put the top card of your deck in reserve.
Yeah, that's kind of like a sort of card draw, right? So puts the card in reserve instead of drawing a card directly. Yeah, that's a pretty good card. Good card advantage card.
All right, so and then we've got another faction shift card. So we had double faction shift here. Kodama. This art is fan-friggin-tastic. So we've seen a little bit, but it looks like we've got our factions is in this top right, correct? How many total factions do we have in the game?
There's 6. There's six factions in the game. When you're building a deck, ooh, that's a card I spoiled. That's a
nice.
Yeah, he's really good. He's a good old man. He's got a lot of value. Like he's just.
Oh wow! Take a hand from your reserve to your hand. So it's got doing a Dorothy thing, right?
Yep.
You may discard a card from your reserve. You may send target character to reserve. Oh, so on this Dorothy, am I able to send an opponent's card to reserve?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's what you want to do. So basically, without getting too much into how exactly the game works.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, your characters only last for 1 round, right? And they only apply their bonuses for 1 round. It's not like Magic or anything like that. Don't think about this game like any other TCG because it doesn't really play like any TCG.
So you're not building up a board state. You're literally making incremental advantages throughout the game.
You are kind of, but not really. So basically, at the end of your turn, all of your characters that are in your expedition, they go into your reserve unless they have the anchored mechanic. Or another mechanic that keeps them out on the field. Most of them will immediately go into the reserve at the end of your turn, and then you can play them again from your reserve later. But once you do, they'll have a fleeting counter on them, which means the second time they go away permanently. They go into your discard pile. There obviously there are effects that kind of get around this, but that's kind of the general flow. That guy's really good.
Yeah, he looks incredible.
Yeah, he does a kind of a nasty effect where he sends your opponent's expedition back 1, which is really good.
And you're trying to get to the middle, so you're basically setting your opponent back a turn.
Yeah.
And this is the exact opposite. Expedition moves forward 1 region. So we got some countering cards here.
As you can see, those have really high costs, right? That one costs 6 to play, whereas the other dude costs 7, and he only does it from hand. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So playing him again, you don't really care. You're looking at his stats at that point, right?
Pretty good stats, like 4/4/4 is pretty good. But, right, so that's kind of the general idea. You have 2 expeditions at the same time, so you can decide whether you want to commit to one lane or the other lane. And
are those like randomly generated at the beginning of the game, like to know what
you always have the same. So basically, when you start the game, you randomly mix the tumult cards, so you don't know what terrain is going to be. Then you have each of your you have your hero and you have your companion, and they start on opposite sides, and that terrain is always the same. It's always like the starting terrain, and you have the 2 expeditions that correspond to it. So every start of the game is the same, other than the mixing of the 3 tumult cards in the middle.
Very cool. All right, so we've got another faction shifted card here. We've got a rare. Again, I love that I know exactly what's going on. It's very, very fun. Cards your opponent play cost 1 more. That's pretty great.
Yeah, but once again, keep in mind that cards at the end of the turn, or all of the units and stuff, go away. So that only lasts for 1 turn.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, this is beautiful. Golly, this art is so good. And I love that, is it all... No, not all faction shifted cards are that way. Why is it that some of the cards are border to border and some aren't? Is that a special treatment, or...?
So all of the rare cards should technically be full art, no border.
Okay.
So all faction shifted and rare cards have it. If it looks like it's probably just because of the art is dark.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is just a wall. It looks like a border, but it's not. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to tell if a card's rare or not, is if it has a border. If it has the black border, then it is a common card or a token. Otherwise, it'll have the full art.
And then just from memory, the last one is just a token, right?
Yep. Okay. Should just be a token.
All right. So can you explain to me boosted? That's the first time I've seen that keyword there, and I noticed it. So.
Yeah, boosted's pretty simple. It just gets a counter on it that gives +1 to all of the stats. Oh, so cool. +1 to all of the the forest, mountain and water.
And is there an easy way to do that? Is that something that is like included on a card? How do you get boosted?
The cards will say like
Okay.
put a boost, like boost me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Ghoulrang and Toxin. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I will say so far, my favorite hero is definitely the Navanka and Blotch. I just really love the art on that. That is really cool. Resupply, so we got another resupply card. Fleeting, you were talking about Fleeting. Semi-discard instead of reserve after resolve. So this is a one-time use effect, basically, right?
Yep, one-time use effect. So that means that card in your reserve is pretty good, which means you can play it from reserve and then it goes away. Normally, if you play it from your hand, it also will go away because it has fleeting. So,
yeah.
Drawing that into your reserve, you don't lose any like potential value, right? Because it already has fleeting.
Yeah. So whereas, like, if you have a card that says your cards lose fleeting, would this be something that you could then play twice?
Yeah. If it loses fleeting, then it'll resolve normally and then go back into into your reserve.
I love the art on this. It looks like they definitely... So here you're talking about anchored. So this means it gets to stay around an extra turn. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Very cool. All right, we got some resupply. We already know about that. This one does nothing different. Got another common. All right, so we've got a first faction shifted card from this pack here. We've got another faction shifted card here. Again, like it seems like... So all three of these were faction shifted. Baba Yaga.
Yeah. Baba Yaga. She's pretty good. Draws you a card from hand.
Oh, and then we got our first foiler thing. So I'm going to just talk like I know what I'm talking about. And basically, every one of these cards will be scanned prior to this video going live. Because basically, every single one of these cards, I gain ownership of by scanning it, correct? And so these cards, these foilers, I can add to my account. And now I can foil one of my rares and have it printed in foil now, correct?
Yep, exactly. I think that's one of the coolest parts about this game. It's like actually innovative, like very innovative, in that the whole reason the QR code exists is so you can gain digital ownership of that specific card. So you can have ownership of multiple copies of a given card. And why that's relevant is because, well, the physical card doesn't matter at all. It only matters is the digital ownership. And if you own the card digitally, then you can get the company to print more copies of it for you. Essentially, the way it kind of works is that you can print as many copies as you want. You can even give them to your friends if you want. You can literally print an entire deck for your buddies if you want. However, they are not able to use that deck in officially sanctioned tournaments unless they have ownership of those cards digitally. So at an event, the judges will scan your cards to make sure that you own the copies of those cards.
Very cool.
So it's really, really consumer friendly. Like if you want to get a buddy into the game, you can literally print them a deck, like for very minimal cost. It's great.
Very cool. Yeah, and like you were saying, if you have a friend that wants to get into the game, you can literally print them every single one of your cards or give them the physical copies that you already own, and they just can't play it in a tournament, but they can still play with you and have every single card at their disposal, which is super neat. All right, so we've got our first rare. We've got a faction shifted card here, and hey, there we go. All right, so we've got Axiom Scrambler. So I'm trying to remember this. So the arrow is anytime, right? So anytime it sabotages, which is good because I set this card aside, which also says sabotage because I didn't have a clue what that meant. So now we can discuss it on this card.
Sabotage is really good. So we talked a lot about cards in reserve. They are face up, so there's a zone for reserve. You can only have 2 cards in your reserve at the end of your turn, but as cards get into your reserve during your turn, they can kind of stack up, right? So you can have more cards in reserve during your turn. At the end, you just have to discard down to 2.
Okay.
That's relevant because sabotage lets you selectively choose one of your opponent's cards in their reserve and discard it.
Oh, cool. So you just straight up eliminate the second use of their card.
Yeah, that's actually really good. The fact that you can sabotage on both plays is really strong.
That's gross. Really, yeah, so every time I play this, I can remove a card from their reserve, which is sick. And if you play it from hand, if you control 2 or more landmarks, the next card you play this afternoon costs 1 less.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. This is I think, this is a really good, like, solid, unique. The stat lines are fine, like 2, but it has a 5 in Mountain, which is very good, and then 3, and 4 drop for both. But the fact that it gets like the double sabotage,
that's pretty cool.
And the other effect is pretty good too. Axiom is that faction, and they care about landmarks quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So having landmarks in play makes it so you can kind of like play another thing for cheap. So yeah, I like this unique.
Very cool. And again, I now have 2 cards that nobody else in the world has. That is what makes the pack opening experience so cool. It finds a way to, because 9 times out of 10, right? And it may still even be cheaper to, buy this card off of someone. But 9 times out of 10, it makes more sense to buy singles. This offers you a way to kind of go around that, where like you may open something that is absolutely ridiculous that, someone may not be willing to sell, or someone may sell at a super high price. So like actually kind of encourages you to open some packs, which I think is really neat.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think the pack opening experience for Altered is very good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Not only is the art top notch, but I have 2 cards that no one else in the world has. How cool is that from a pack opening experience? All right, I think I have 2 more words. Nope, just 1. So asleep. So Rasa doesn't reserve. So what is asleep?
So asleep means
it'll. Card, but...
Yeah, it's kind of like Dan described it as the opposite of anchored. Not really, but kind of. So anchored means it'll stick around for the turn, and you still get the bonuses, right? And then you remove the anchored counter, and then subsequent turns it will go away. Asleep is similar. It'll stay around for the turn. However, you do not get the bonuses. So you can actually use it on one of your cards if you want to keep it around for another turn, in case you're like, no, you're losing your lane. You're like, my lane is completely gone. I'll just put to sleep my big dude, and then I'll have them on the next turn. Or you can do the opposite. If your opponent is like crushing you in a lane and they have a really big unit, and they're like, I'll put that one to sleep, so I win the lane this turn, but then they'll have it, next turn. So it's a pretty versatile, like pseudo removal kind of mechanic. It shows up mostly in Muna, I would say, which is kind of like the foresty kind of faction, but it can appear in other places.
Very cool, very cool. So I found my second favorite hero so far, Kojo and Buddha. We found my second favorite hero. And again, like if you've watched my channel before, you may know I am very big on okay, so this is something I haven't seen before, so we'll just put this to the side. But I am very big on the looks of a card. So my favorite hero up until recently wasn't very good, but I fell in love with the hero because of the art style in Flesh and Blood, and that is Viserai. Well, now Viserai just got a bunch of love, and now he's good again, and everyone's back on his bandwagon. But so like for me to just see art that I immediately love is really cool. Like I'm connecting with these heroes, and that's probably one of the biggest things for me when it comes to a card game is, am I connecting with the art? And so far I already have 2 that I really love. And honestly, this dog like is getting more and more adorable as I look at it.
Right.
But yeah, I love that I'm connecting with these cards, just based on the art so far. All right, We've got a faction shifted Paper Herald, and then boom. See, this could have been a goblin. Why didn't they make this a goblin? There could have been a little goblin in there controlling it. Like, come on, guys.
There could be goblins in the future. I can maybe see that.
All right, so this is the first time I've seen this symbol, so hopefully you can explain this to me. This looks like tapping here.
Yep.
So how does...
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so how do we tap? Can we tap at any time? How does that work?
Yep, you can.
Okay, cool.
Well, essentially you can, unless it says there's other effects. So essentially the way the game works is it's like a shared turn kind of system, right? Mm-hmm. So like a lot of board games, you take an action, then your opponent takes an action, and then you take an action, and then your opponent takes an action. During those times, you can do, I can't remember what they're exactly called, but you can do like little bonuses, and those are like the quick speed cards or like the tap effects, essentially. Like you can do those and they don't count as an action, which is really, really important, because the moment you pass and you don't have an action, you cannot do anything else for the rest of your turn. You pass for the whole turn. And that means your opponent can just kind of like keep going. So it's a nice little cadence where like I play a dude, they play a dude, I play removal, they play something, a nice little back and forth. And so yeah, the tap effects don't take an action.
And from what I understand, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've played Star Wars, but in Star Wars, I believe I heard you guys saying that once you pass, you've passed for the turn. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right, so we've got our first faction shifted, the Hatter. And then we've got a Tiny Jin, which is also faction shifted. And then teamwork training. Look at that. So beautiful. Look at everyone coming together, just like Kel and I for this video. Just coming together to share our love of trading cards. Beautiful. All right, and so this is our first time seeing Gigantic. I'm going to do the big boy thing, and it's very difficult for me. If you ask Adam Cook, who tried to teach me Viserai, he's like, bro, I put it in the sideboard guide. And I would tell him, I don't read. So for the first time ever, I'm going to read Gigantic, because it clearly tells me what it does, and I've just been relying on Kel this whole time. So Gigantic, so this guy is going to be present in each one of my expeditions, meaning that he's going to provide whatever I need for every lane, correct?
Yep. So you kind of get like a nice little double bonus, but he costs 5 to play, so he's a little spendy there.
Very cool. I just had to show this card because this art is freaking adorable,
Kitsune is very cute.
Yeah, and I think that card was just there. That card didn't matter, but there we go. Fantastic. So also, if you guys were paying attention, you may have noticed that my second favorite is now Lindaway and Maul. It's got a pink wand here. Like I had to move it above the flames. I'm sorry. If you know anything about me, you know I love green and pink. So we may have just dethroned our favorite hero here, because this is very much green and pink. Rin and Orchid, it just kind of automatically goes to the front now. Green and pink, we now have our favorite hero in the game.
Rin and Orchid's one of my favorites. Yeah, she's definitely she's up there.
That is so cool. Again, like that's something, you know, I will say it again. I love that this game is allowing me to just see this. Oh, I really like this. I don't know why, I just really connect with this art. Again, so this perfectly ties in. When a game is able to capture you by art, in my opinion, this is like the first thing I look for in a game. Honestly, I don't really look for how the game plays. I look for, does it intrigue me in the art? Because if it doesn't intrigue me in the art, it really doesn't matter how good the game is, because I don't want to look at the cards. And so, like, seeing just something as simple as this, that out of focus, camera trick there, like that just looks really freaking cool. And I love rolling dice, so.
You're glutton for punishment, if you like. I mean, like, it's not bad. Like, I'm not gonna say that the dice rolling is bad, but you know, it's dice rolling, right?
Right,
you know,
exactly.
You can hit big, or you can maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I play Runeblade. Sometimes you have all non-attack hands. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a faction shifted Bravos Guard. We've got some Spy Craft, and then just a big old Atlas. This one is worse. No, was the other one a 1/1/1?
No, the other one was a 3/3/3,
right?
But this one has a new effect.
Oh, tokens you control have Gigantic. Ah, makes sense. So he's an Anthem effect by himself.
Yeah, by himself, he's not that great. But if you have a lot of tokens, it can be insane, because it means all your tokens are in every zone at the same time. And that faction, Ortis, is the kind of like the faction of tokens, right?
Oh, cool. Very cool.
But the only problem with this card is that it costs 5.
5 cost, yeah.
And like I said, the cards only last one turn. So this is not like Magic, where you can have it and it just sticks around and just pumps it up. You also need to play tokens the same turn that you play this to get the maximum effect of it.
Yeah.
So there are some ways to do that. There are some like cards that are just like one shot, make a bunch of tokens.
Okay.
But you'll need a lot of resources to do it. So it's kind of like that's more of a combo card rather than like a big like board advantage kind of thing.
And so we haven't really talked about it. Are resources like a 1 a turn kind of thing? How do the resources work? Oh boy. I love this card. Oh my god, not only is it pink and green, but that is a pumpkin playing guitar.
Pumpkin Man.
Oh my god, he's playing a Jackson guitar right there. I mean, that is pretty cool. That he's literally playing Randy Rhoads' guitar right there. Like, it doesn't get any cooler than that.
So to answer your question, it's very similar to me being old and a connoisseur of TCGs. I would say like the World of Warcraft trading card game, but most people these days will see the mechanics similar to Lorcana, in that you can put any card. Well, Lorcana they have to be specific cards, but in Altered you can put any card down as a resource during a specific phase of your turn, just once. At the start of the game, you actually start with a couple, which is great. So you don't start with 0. At the start of the game, you actually put, what is it, 3 down. So yeah, you put face down. You don't get them back at all.
Okay. And so is it each turn then you add 1?
You can if you want to.
Okay, so you can either. So it's just like that's just like Star Wars. I haven't. I've played a little bit of Star Wars, and I think it like in Star Wars you draw 2 cards at the beginning of your turn, and then you choose whether or not you want to put a resource down.
It's exactly the same.
So we just pulled a Flamel, but I thought that it was a different color, so I thought this would be a good way to show off. Good way to show off faction shifting because. I'm pretty. Yeah, there we go. So there's our normal Flamel there, and then we just got this Flamel here. So that is pretty cool there. So this is to show off the faction shifting, huh? Pretty cool.
Yep. So you can have that effect in a different faction. He's typically the purple one, which is Izmir, and the pink faction is Lyra.
Now I will say this reminds me a lot of Flesh and Blood, like with the first edition boost not having a reminder text. So it's pretty cool that like the original card is like, hey, this is what I do. Whereas the faction shifted is like, hey, no, this is just it. There's no reminder text. That's pretty cool. I like that they cleaned up the card there. That's really neat. And then we had another gift. This is a really this art is so good.
That card's really good.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. All right, try and pick up the speed here. I am going a little slow, I know, but like it's just so hard for me. You know, when I'm enjoying the art, you know, I get to sit here with Kel and just be. Oh man, that's really cool. Oh, I think dang,
I think she's my favorite. She might be my favorite.
Oh, dang, she's definitely up here. She probably beats the dragon. Yeah, she beats the dragon. The thing, and I don't know. I have children. Not that that's an excuse to watch children's shows because you can do that without children. But this very much reminds me of a movie that came out, and Sheldon Cooper voiced the alien, and I think it's called Home. I want to say it's called Home, but this very much reminds me of the alien that he played. But yeah, so if you have kids, you might know. If you watch children movies, you might know. But that was a really good one. I think it's on Netflix, and like Rihanna voices one of the characters. But yeah, so we go. And the characters in this game. If I remember correctly from your video, again, unfortunately I didn't have time to research this on my own, but I remember you guys saying that basically Altered is a world where reality and like stories get mixed, and so that's why you'll see like the Hatter and Dorothy and stuff like that, correct?
Yep, exactly. So basically they have their own unique world, and then they, like exactly as you said, stories and myths and legends have become real.
So there we go. We got our first common foiler. Very cool. And again, like I just really am enjoying the art in this. It's so vibrant and beautiful. So let's see. I'm gonna try and understand if this card's any good. So it costs 7, which is pretty crazy. So that means turn 1 you've got 3. Turn 2 4. Yep. So like this is like turn 5, turn 4ish.
For the most part, yeah.
Fleeting. Send me to the discard instead of reserve. Again, I love, like, had I not had Kel, I could have just read the cards, right? I didn't need him to explain it to me. It literally tells me. But I hate reading. Let's see. So discard up to 2 targets, characters or permanents. Draw a card. Very cool. So this is just filtering, correct?
Well, no. What it means by discard is that it doesn't. So like I said, this game is not an aggressive game. You don't fight your opponent. You don't kill them. What discard does mean is it essentially means destroy or kill. So that means this will remove 2 of your opponent's cards on the field.
And you draw a card.
Yeah, it's like a 3-for-1. It's really good.
Oh, that is sick. Oh man, I am really enjoying this. I did have a beverage before, so that's just definitely helped put me at ease and make me a little more having fun here. But honestly, like the art and just being able to sit here with Kel is just I am really enjoying this card opening experience. I'm sure Kel's helping, but the art alone is just so good. I mean, it's just like flesh and blood. I talk about it all the time. There are cards that are like commons that have such good art, and you just never... Okay, focus on my hand, sure. There are cards that you just never really get to appreciate because they're commons. And I think it's, you know, it's the same thing with probably all card games. Like, the art that is put into some of these cards that just goes unnoticed is unbelievable. Like, it truly, all of these arts are very high quality. It really doesn't feel...
Well, Frog.
It really doesn't feel like they've cut any quarters just because it's a common card, right? They truly care about their game and are making every card beautiful.
Here's the thing. As I mentioned before, you will end up playing a lot of commons because of how the game, like deck construction, works. You can only have 15 rares, and you can only have 13 uniques. The rest of your deck has to be common, so you literally have to play with a bunch of commons, which I think is really cool. And it also balances it, right? Like if you pull a bunch of cracked uniques, you can't just put your entire deck uniques. You can only have 3, so you have to really pick and choose your favorite. Same for the rares. You really have to pick and choose. Which I think it makes deck building like really fun. It also makes it a lot more balanced too. It's not just kind of like you know, who has the most rares or whatever. It's really cool in that regard, I think.
Yeah, that is super neat. You know, putting an emphasis on the cards that you're gonna be pulling the most definitely makes it. I don't know what happened to my autofocus here, but we're losing it here. Bring it back here. Bring it back. This is the focus. Don't look at my hand. I don't have hands. There we go. So this is another hero. So this is we actually have multiple heroes per faction, which is super cool again. So if there's a play style that you like but you don't necessarily connect with the hero, again, I'm very big on art. We have multiple options. Just this what was this faction called?
That's Lyra. So
I was gonna say Lyra, but then it literally tells me at the top. Read, Hank. It's not that hard to read. It tells you.
Each faction currently, for the first set at least, has 3 heroes. So 6 factions, 3 heroes per faction currently.
Yeah, that is super cool. Wow. I'm just blown away by the art on this. It's so good. So good. I love, like, I am a big fan of big, bright, vibrant colors, so they are nailing it. They are nailing it, and for me anyway. Common. All right, so we've been in a dry spell. Hopefully we get another unique here. Let's see. So we've got a faction shifted Martingale, Lyra Navigator, and Thoth.
Thoth is pretty good. You'll
is
end
that a
up
crane?
on average. It is, yeah.
That's a crane head.
That's Thoth is for those of you who are into mythology, is an Egyptian deity.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I had no idea. That guy's got a crane head. That is very cool.
Yeah, they pull from a lot of different mythologies and stuff in this. So you'll see like there's Athena from like Greek, but you'll also see stuff like Thoth and Anubis and from Egyptian mythology, which is pretty cool.
Very, very cool. So it looks like you got a lot more faction shifted than you do rare. Is that your experience?
It's random.
Okay.
No, it's basically just random for that. Okay. You get like 3 rares per pack or rare slot cards per pack, and they can either be a rare, a faction shifted card, or a unique.
Okay. Yeah, we've just been like nailing it on the faction shifted. Like I think we've got like 5 rares, and the rest are all faction shifted. All right, we got a red. We got a rare finally. Red. So Red Riding Hood, I'm assuming. Very much so. Yep. Very cool. Oh, dude, the art is just so good. I love this full art. Look, it's so cool. Rare, and then we've already had a monolith. Oops. We've already had a monolith before. Look at there. See, I was complaining, and then we got 3 rares in a row to even out the stacks, huh?
Yep.
Oh, man. So how many boxes of this have you opened? And have you gotten to... I know you said you played it with your partner. Have you gotten to play very many matches?
We played for quite a while. We only played with the starter decks, but I do have 5 or 6 constructed decks. I think I built almost one of each. I don't think I built a Lyra deck yet, because I haven't really decided kind of what I want to do with Lyra, because it's kind of like the oddball faction with dice rolling and crazy stuff, and I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. I backed the Kickstarter, and I backed it for make me remember. I think 6 boxes, and then Equinox sent me a little content creator kit, so I had one extra box. So I think I've opened up 7 boxes.
Nice.
And I didn't save any. You know, I'm not investing or anything. I literally opened up every single thing that I had. So
yeah, I'm a little disappointed that I was so negative on the game. You know, I prefer, you know, I've said this in recent videos, I prefer to just let people make their own opinions. And so I kind of just keep my mouth shut when it comes to things. I find it easier for me to just either love or hate something in private. But I was, you know, to myself, I was like, like this game's kind of meh. Like I kind of hate the, you know, the QR codes. Like I was very much down on the game myself. So unfortunately, I did not back it. And, you know, honestly, just looking at it, even not looking at the gameplay standpoint, just looking at like the fun that this has given me just opening it, I've really enjoyed the box opening experience. So I'm definitely gonna try this out, get a few starter decks, and force some of the people at the local game store to try it out. But yeah, that's what I would just say from that comment to anyone out here that may be listening. Keep your opinions to yourself if they're negative. Like honestly, you can be constructive, but like if you only have negative things to say, just, you know, contemplate keeping it to yourself and let people enjoy things that they enjoy, right? Because there are plenty of people that were probably on board with this game from the beginning, and you know, I didn't make myself look like an idiot by saying things I didn't need to say. I just kept my mouth shut and enjoyed what I enjoyed. So there you go.
It's funny, like my videos on this have done quite well, and the only negative thing I've seen is just people complaining about the QR codes, which is kind of funny. I will say, like, at first when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, it does kind of stick out a little bit, but it is quite small. And also, the more you open, the more you just forget that it's even there. And by the time I was done with a couple boxes, I didn't even notice. It was just kind of like,
it's 100% true. I will say that I would guess I'm about halfway through this box. I don't even notice anymore. And again, on camera, even watching your videos, I was like, man, these friggin' QR codes are like such an eyesore. But the more I've opened it, the more I've been like, they look smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh, looks like Santa Claus and his helper. Adorable.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Main Deck Dan literally did like a analysis of it, like how much like percentage of the card does it take up, and I don't remember exactly. I want to say like 12%. It's like 12% or something of the actual card. It's very small.
Yeah, and I you know, again, I made a bunch of comments during your video because I'm one of those people that likes to comment as you go, you know, so I'll make comments throughout your video, and I remember having to make like you know, five extra comments of, all right, fine, you know, like you convinced me. Oh, okay, fine. You got, like, it was funny that Dan was able to like basically dispel most of the negative comments I had on the game, and you know, Cal and Dan's video is the reason that I'm here opening this, is because they did a great job explaining to me, you know, putting a lot of my worries at ease and just being like, listen, dude, like they're really not that big of a deal. But I wanted to point out here, not only is the unique way more beautiful. Holy crap, that's crazy. Like I love that the art's different. That is super cool.
Yeah.
But so here's
I was gonna
also
mention. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna go ahead. You do it.
I was gonna just mention really quickly the art. So you see the difference between the art here. Well, there's also the common version. The common version also has a different artwork. So between the 3 variations, common, rare, and then unique, they have different art for all of them. Faction Shifted typically has about the same art as the rares, but so every card not only has like multiple kind of rarities, but also has art, which is really cool.
Wow, yeah, so very cool. So the other thing you'll notice again is these are what is it called? Procedurally generated. What is the wording on that?
Yeah, they're like procedurally generated. It's not like an AI kind of thing. It's like they have certain parameters, like certain effects, right? And then when the cards are procedurally generated, kind of like Keyforge, if anyone's familiar with Keyforge. But instead of like the whole deck being procedurally generated, it's just a single card. And so it has these certain parameters within like you know, these confines, so it's not super overpowered, right? And as you can see, the effects are quite different on this. Well, sort of. It's a sort of different. Yeah. That rare Dorothy does have an effect that gets rid of cards, and the unique one kind of does it, but in a different way.
Yeah. And the neat thing is I've noticed during your videos, there are some times that the stats are worse. Luckily on this card, though, it's kind of like a no-brainer. If I want to run Dorothy, like, she's kind of doing everything better. Like, she's playing from reserve for cheaper. She's got the same stats here, but way better stats here. And then she's doing something with reserve still, but then does it again from hand, which is really cool. So it seems like this card in every way is just better.
I wouldn't say that, because like it's a different effect. Like, so the rare Dorothy, if you play it from your hand or if you play it from your reserve, she basically just kills a dude. That's what she does.
Oh, right.
Whereas the other one can kind of kill a dude if you play from hand and do the discard kind of thing.
So this has more hoops.
Yeah, it has more hoops. It has a little bit better stats. It's a little bit easier to play from reserve. So it's like different. That's why I think the uniques are really interesting, especially the ones that have like different effects. And the real consideration that you would make if you're putting that in your deck is like, well, first of all, that one's faction shifted. I should note it. I should note the unique one is also faction shifted. But it's like, okay, well, do I want to play 3 of this Dorothy that has this one effect, or do I want to use one of those slots to play like the unique one, which has a different effect? You know what I'm saying? Because you can only have 3 Dorothys total in your deck, regardless of rarity.
Very cool.
The unique would take up one of the slots.
Now, is it faction shifted? Those symbols look the same to me.
They oh, maybe it's not. I thought it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because you're looking through a camera. But...
I thought it looked like Axiom. It's not Axiom. That's still Izmir. Okay, so that one's not faction shifted. So that's actually an even better example. So that means, I think Rare Dorothy is insanely good. I think it's one of the best. She's so strong.
Okay.
And you'd have to be like, okay, do I want to remove one of my Dorothys to play this unique Dorothy? Like, is the effect good enough? Is it going to do the things that I want it to do? And if you do that, if you wanted to run the rares, it would open up a rare slot for you. So you can have different rare, and the unique one can be your unique. So.
That makes sense, yeah. I think that's
deck
very...
building's super fun.
Yeah, I think that's very cool, like the limitations that they put on you. You know, like, if you want to run this rare Dorothy, you can't run the common, right? Because you only have those 3 slots, and if the rare is doing the thing that you want it to do, then you can't run the common, and so it kind of, like, forces you to experiment with different cards rather than just going, this deck runs 9 Dorothys because it's the best unique, the best rare, the best common kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, and it also makes it so like when you're deck building, when I deck build, the basic thing that I did is I don't start with the uniques, I start with the rares, and I'm like, okay, what 15 rares do I want to be in my deck? Because these are generally going to be the most powerful cards outside of random uniques. And then after that, you can kind of decide which commons are going to go in, what uniques are going to go in. When I first did it, I kind of just did a big pile. I'm like, okay, which cards at all do I want in this deck? And I put all the rares and all the commons, and then I just kind of like try to narrow it down from there. Yeah. But in my opinion, it makes, as someone who plays a lot of different card games, and I literally brew and deck build for a lot of card games, it's really, really fun and altered. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a great time, and I'm an idiot, when it comes to deck building, so I don't know how I'll experience it, but golly, this art just doesn't quit. That is so friggin' cool. We got a rare. We are due for a friggin' unique, aren't we? Not today, apparently.
Yeah, you'll end up with a couple more. I don't know the exact ratios, because there's a little bit of variation, but you'll probably end up with close to 5, maybe 6, something like that. So yeah, we got some more in this box for sure.
All right, let's see. So we've got another repeat hero here. We're just gonna skip to the end now. I think we've probably seen most of the commons at this point, so we're just gonna. All right, sticky note seals. Oh god, that thing is adorable.
Yeah, cute little thing. Yeah.
Oh.
You got the Baba Yaga's cottage.
Yeah. Oh come on. Where are the yellow cards? I want some yellow ones. Like I do.
Yeah. As Hank opens it, so I do want to mention there's one other mechanic I've mentioned a little bit, but we didn't really talk about all that much, and that is locations. So locations, unlike your units and your allies and stuff, they do stick around every single turn. They do not go away.
Okay.
However, you have a limit. You can only have 2 on the field at a time. Well, that's not technically true. You can have as many as you want on the field at a time, but at the end of your turn, you have to discard down to 2. So you can only have 2 at the end of your turn. Ooh, Baku. Baku's like really good.
That's a really cool looking card. Faction
Yeah,
shifted.
Baku.
Target opponent
Baku's
discards a hang. Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Baku's real good.
But you only get it once, right? Because you can only get it from hand, right?
Yes, yes. But like getting like some of the most exciting uniques are like Baku uniques because he can do like
cool,
crazy stuff.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so like, what are my backs here? So this is probably a foiler. Is that correct? Because this so it's a token. So the foilers
all
are
token.
different.
They probably have the same.
They're the same back. I thought I saw a different colored back. Maybe I'm crazy. I might just be crazy.
There's 2 color backs. There's one for like
2?
tokens,
Okay.
and then one for like all the other cards.
Okay. I thought I saw a third one. I guess I'm just insane. All right, come on, baby. I think I see gold, so I think hopefully we have a unique here. All right, so this is Esmeralda, very cool. That is a rare. We got a faction ship, David, and yes, the Kraken.
Ooh, okay.
Wow, that is cool. So it's a 5/6. Ouch. 005. So is 5 the highest number we can have?
No, you can have a lot higher.
Okay. But 0/0, so that hurts. So it's only going to contribute to water.
Let's see what he does.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All regions are water.
Yeah.
So it immediately makes up for its a downside by saying no, everything is water.
Yep.
And lose their other types. All right.
Ooh.
Lose
their other types.
Yes. So everything is water. Yeah. All right. You may discard one of your mana orbs. Okay, that I don't understand. If you do, you may send to reserve target character with hand cost 4 or more.
Ooh. Okay. It's pretty good, I think. So
very cool.
The mana orbs are basically like the resources that you play. That's what they're called.
Okay.
The cards that you play face down, those are your mana orbs.
Gotcha.
So basically, it's like sacrifice a land kind of deal. You know, in Magic terms, it's like sack a land, kill something that costs 4 or more.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's pretty well. It says send to reserve, so you kind of pseudo kill it. You get rid of it for now, and then they can play it again on the next turn. So it's not the same as like discarding, but it's like a mini discard. And then I think Kraken always does the water effect. I think Kraken that's kind of like its normal thing that it does. So yeah, I don't know. I think, and this is Izmir. I think it's pretty cool. I would definitely play around with it.
I love the art and the ability. The first ability is really cool. Just like making everything water. That is super cool if that's something you want to play around. Now, are you saying that it always makes the others lose their region as well?
I don't remember because honestly, for my Izmir deck, I don't run the Kraken. Izmir is the control faction.
Okay.
So my deck focuses a lot on like removal and discard and like controlling the board, and then I have like this kind of like inevitable end game where I use the faction shifted version of that card that advances your expedition 1 by every turn. So basically, my goal is to control the board, and then I don't really care about winning the lanes because I have that card that makes me win the lane no matter what.
Oh, cool.
So I don't remember what the Kraken. I know it does. I know it makes everything water. I don't remember if it makes gets rid of the other types for the other version.
Very cool.
Let's see if we come across it.
Yeah, hopefully we come across it. I think we're probably about a third of the box left. I'm just genuinely just so impressed with the art on this. And I'm really having a great time opening this product. So if nothing else, kudos for making a visually stunning product, because I'm really enjoying that. If nothing else, this is definitely, if I had endless amounts of money, this is definitely something that I could see myself just gathering for the collectability of just the art. Hey, there we go. Unique foiler. Very cool. Now, this was something I was a little confused on, and it sounded like you were a little confused on it at first in the Dan video. When it comes to how does foiling work on a card? Is it by the name of the card, the rarity? Like, how does that work if when you foil something?
So just for
The Kraken's sake?
Just for Kraken's sake. So what Kraken normally does, just the common version of Kraken, he's a 7-drop, 7-drop, 7 cost, 7 cost.
Okay.
008.
Oh.
But he also has gigantic.
Oh.
But when you play him, you have to sacrifice 2 characters.
Oh.
And then it says all regions are water and lose their other types. So yeah, it does have that effect.
Okay.
But the regular version you have to sack 2 characters. So
interesting. So he gets
for the rare version is almost the same, but you just sack 1 character.
Okay.
So
we get around the sack thing, but we lose a little bit of power and gigantic. Very interesting.
But you get the ability to destroy your opponent's other stuff, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
Or sort of destroy, put it in reserve. So the way the foilers work is that so I looked it up, by the way, on the app. There's an official app. That's how you scan your cards in. And you can look at your database and everything and see all your collection and all that kind of stuff, which is I just looked up Kraken. The way the foilers work is through the app. One of the reasons I mentioned it, through the app, you can select the foiler, and then you select the card that you want to foil. I had initially assumed you had to do it on a 1-by-1 basis, right? So like every single card has a unique QR code, right? So even if you have like 3 different versions of the same common card, their QR codes are all different, signifying the different copies that you would own, right? And so I assumed it was like a 1-to-1 per unique QR code. Like I apply this foiler to this specific QR code. And the way that Dan explained it to me is that no, it applies it to the card like itself. Like not itself, the card. How do I want to put this? If you put foiling on the Kraken, like the common Kraken, every single common Kraken you make will be foiled. Like regardless of the QR code.
Right, so you don't have to foil every single one. Once you have a common Kraken foiled, every common Kraken you print will be foiled.
Exactly. That's the way Dan explained it to me. I've not done the foiling thing yet. I don't actually know from firsthand experience.
Right.
That's what has been told to me, because I'd assumed then, I was like, oh, you really want to get the common foils because most of your deck is going to be commons, right? And that's still true, but it's not quite to that extent, because you just need to foil the common each card once, which is makes it pretty easy.
So we definitely have kind of evened up our whatchamacallit, our faction shifted in our rare. Something I'm noticing at the bottom of the card, and I don't know if it's just my eyeballs or what, but some of these bottom letters look yellow versus white. Is that anything, or is that just my eyeballs? I think it's really clear here on these 2 cards. The very bottom is very much white on one and very much yellow on the other.
I think that's just the printing.
Just printing. Okay.
The only times that the color, it doesn't really matter, but sometimes on like the card, ooh, you got another. The only time it matters is sometimes on a card effect, it'll have a different color text, and that just signifies it being different than like the like common version or whatever.
All right, so we've got a Bravos Tracer, 2/3, 4/4/2. I gain fleeting. You may pay 1. If you do, you may have target character other than me lose fleeting and gain 1 boost.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Okay. So the Bravos Tracer, what he typically does is that he is undercosted and has really high stats, but he always has fleeting. So you can't, he's like a one-shot kind of deal.
Right.
What's interesting about this is the second effect, which is typically not on Bravos Tracer. And it's only from hand, so it would cost 3 to play total. But then you would also remove fleeting from something, so it would go into your reserve, and then you also give it 1 boost. That's a pretty good effect for this faction is called the Bravos. There's a whole archetype that is all about like getting boost counters and removing fleeting and stuff. So this would go like perfectly in that style of deck. And there are some Bravos cards that have I think the keyword is seasoned, where they keep their boosts when they go into reserve. So when you play them a second time, they'll have the boost again. So that's a great card for that type of effect. You want to put that on one of your seasoned dudes, they'll lose fleeting, and then they'll go back into your reserve. They'll keep their boost, and you can play it again with the boost.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, you know, this is why I definitely needed someone else in this video because, you know, even though, you know, no one, you know, we don't know exactly what's going to be good. Like having someone that at least knows the game enough to be like, hey, this is probably good. You know, whereas I would have just been like, I don't know what the difference is. Here it's yellow. Like how boring of the video would that have been? So I'm glad to have Kelly here to kind of explain things to us and like give us some insight as to what may or may not be good. Like the art again is freaking top notch. It's so good. All right, it's a talk. Okay, so this is interesting. I don't think I've seen this before. Oh, cool. So this has a very specific from reserve ability, which is very cool. I mean, this may have been another card. I may have just overlooked it, but this is pretty cool. So I can draw a card by discarding this from reserve. So that's pretty neat. So once this gets sent to reserve, I can just throw this away to draw a card, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, also, as I mentioned, like, at the end of your turn, you can only have up to 2 cards in your reserve. So getting those kind of effects is great. Yeah,
it's very nice. So you don't just have to waste it. You can use that extra ability rather than having to discard down. That's pretty cool. All right, so we are down to our last, looks like 4 packs. So we'll see. We should have, what, you think one more unique in this box at least?
I would guess at least one more, maybe 2. We'll see.
All right.
The box that I opened that was not the Kickstarter edition, I think I got 5, and I think Dan got 6. So
very cool.
It's just kind of like more random, you know.
All right, sounds good. What is this movie? This reminds me of a movie, and I cannot think of what it is. I mean,
Iron
the art
Giant?
is like yes, it's like almost exactly identical to that.
Yeah, he looks like the Iron Giant. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Monolith Activist, and then a Tooth Fairy. That's awesome. My daughter just lost her tooth recently, so I'm gonna have to show her this card. I don't know, it might scare her. That's kind of a creepy Tooth Fairy.
I was gonna say, like, the art in general for this game though is a lot more like family friendly than most TCGs.
Right.
I think this is a great game if folks want to play this with their kids. Like a lot of people do that with like Lorcana, but this game is like very positive. Like I said, you don't actually kill things. You know, discard them. It's much more like, you know, upbeat, friendly, positive, and I think would be good for you know,
That's
playing
awesome.
with their kids and stuff.
All right, we've got a Haven trainee. Oh, yes. We've got at least one more. All right, let's see. We've got Kodama. So the only reason I know Kodama is from Kodama's Reach from Magic.
Oh, from Magic. Kodamas are they're essentially forest spirits that originate in Japanese folklore.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow, this is another neat effect here. So I can discard this from my reserve to give something anchored. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So these are very good things to have in your deck. Things that are like, oh man, I've got more than 2, but cool, I can activate this effect. That's really cool. But more importantly than that, we've got a beautiful Ganesha.
Oh, big elephant. Okay.
Oh man, that is cool. So Ganesha, a 5/5/5/3/4. All right, and every time I play it, I may pay 1. If I do, for each character I control other than it, activate its triggers.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think Ganesha typically does something like that. It lets you redo the triggers.
Okay. At dusk, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, up to 1 target character gains fleeting.
Okay, interesting. So, the way the cycles are broken down in the game, instead of like, you know, untap, upkeep, main phase, attack phase, they break morning, noon, dusk. So dusk is at the end of the turn. So that effect happens at the end of the turn. And giving something fleeting is kind of nasty.
Yeah.
It basically it's once again, I call it pseudo removal. It means that instead of going to reserve, it's goes to the discard pile. So if your opponent has like a really powerful card, you can use that effect to, like, you know, make sure it doesn't come back.
Yeah, and so when is that something also is your scoring? Is that done at the end of the turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's done during not technically. It's done during a certain time of day.
Okay.
It's done before dusk.
Okay.
I think it's done at not the afternoon. It's like right after that.
Gotcha. And you did kind of cut out a little bit. You did the old Living Legends podcast freeze on me.
Okay.
But I think we got the gist of what you were trying to say. The morning, afternoon, and evening.
Yeah. Different times of day: morning, afternoon, evening, dusk, and you do points or like calculations before the end of the turn. So it's like the thing you do right before dusk.
Okay. That card is so cool looking, man.
Rare Sakurabru or whatever his name is. That card's like sick. That card's so good.
Yeah, so your opponent expedition facing mine moves backward one, so you send them back still, but also you can draw a card from the reserve, which is super cool. Golly! This probably isn't even that special of a card, but that art is insane.
What is this one?
Wow. It's
draw a
Aether
card.
Shard. Draw a card, at noon, draw a card. So draw
Pretty
two
good.
cards, basically.
Oh, it's a land. Oh, yeah. It's a landmark. So, no, this is
landmark.
great. This is you draw a card when you play it.
Mm-hmm.
And then every single turn at noon you draw another card because landmarks, like I said, don't go away.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Like other things do.
Wow.
But you do have a cap to the number of landmarks you can have.
Wow.
What's really cool about landmarks is since they don't go away at all, having them in your reserve and playing them from your reserve is really great. So if you draw a landmark into your reserve, you don't lose any value because it still sticks around, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's very cool. And that is faction shifted. So I don't know if Lyra is normally a faction that does card draw well, but that one does. All right, there we go. All right, so this is it. Are we going to get another unique? Or are we going to be at 5? Let's find out. So try not to ruin this because that yellow is very easy to expose. Let's see. So we've got rare. All right, come on. Are we going to end the video in a spectacular faction? Or are we going to scramble to the end? All right, so we've got an Axiom Scrambler. All right, that was a rare. We've got a... Come on, baby. Give us one more unique to end the video. That is not very nurturing. That is not very nurturing. Up to 2 target characters gain boost. There you go. So current decks that care about boost, especially that one that you were saying that they get to keep it. That's pretty cool. And it only costs 2, and you can play it again for 1. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Well, that is it. We're going to switch cameras to end this video. A huge shout out to Kel for taking time out of his busy day to join us today. I really appreciate your time. I had an absolute blast learning about this game. In the end, we ended up with, looks like 5 common foilers, 2 rare foilers, and 1 unique. I'm not sure what the odds are on that, but that was pretty cool. We did hit the 5 uniques. Nothing crazy, Kel. Just kind of different things, you'd say?
You had a couple pretty good ones, I think. Like, you had a couple ones that I would probably play with. Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
Very cool. My favorite is the first one we pulled. That Dorothy is just really cool. I really enjoyed that one, and it's my first unique. So that I'll probably just foil that just because, like, hey, it's the first unique I ever pulled, right? Like, that was so much fun. But yeah, I cannot thank you enough. Like, I'm blaming you for this box because of the video you did, and so thank you so much for taking the time to explain it to me and really help make this box opening a little more beneficial than me just being an idiot and being like, here's some cards with some art. So I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed that, leave some likes and comments and stuff because I normally don't ask for that. But yeah, until next time, guys. Peace. So not only did I miss that there was a goblin, I missed my opportunity to have Kel tell you all about his social medias and things. So he's Red Zone Rogue everywhere. Check him out if you haven't already. Peace.